Trail, so this is going to be kind of a progress report and a little bit about the history and some of the things that I found most interesting during the process so far. I am curious, first of all, how many people have lived here like under 5 years? Okay. Well, and did anybody live here in the 60s? 70s? 70s. 80s? 90s? Okay. And somewhere in the middle. Cool. The first thing I wanted to do, because this has just been a whole long series of looking at maps and looking at more maps and looking at older maps and redrawing maps. So my idea with this paper here is, if you'll have a pencil, and we have some up front if people need them, is to just draw kind of the outline of Reading, if you think you know what it looks like. No quiz, you don't have to show anything. I can see you're not doing it.
It's already done.
Right.
It looks like that.
That's right. Just a big rectangle. So, okay, so now somewhere along the bottom, that's your clue, there's the Saugatuck Reservoir. So where do you think that is? Make a mark for that. And then maybe mark where you think Georgetown is. Something in Reading Ridge. Or the library where we are right now. Put in maybe a mark for Town Hall. And at your house while you're at it. And then make a mark for the Great Ledge. People been to Huntington? Add that to your little map. Okay, Putnam Park.
Now you're pushing your luck.
Okay, just down the road from us, there's one that a lot of people love, Saugatuck Falls.
Yeah.
Okay, see if you can find that. And maybe that'll help you. Could you draw in the Saugatuck River, where it comes into town and where it goes into the reservoir? And then, this might be pushing it, the Little River, the Saugatuck River, throw in like Reading Road, Route 53. Maybe Black Rock Turnpike. That just goes north of that. Yeah. Did you say I should have made it bigger, Peggy? Yeah, that's.
I should have known.
Well, that's the whole process. At Cross Highway.
Cross Highway, yeah.
That's an old boundary at the top of the Fairfield long lots, and everything above Cross Highway was just forest that didn't belong to Fairfield or Newtown or Danbury or Ridgefield.
The oblong.
The oblong, yeah. Or the peculiar. Okay, so that was just to get you kind of in the headspace that I've been inhabiting.
That's a poor. I failed.
How'd y'all do?
Amazing.
Good. I was also curious what people's favorite preserves were, or trails. Somebody shout it out, or raise your hand, whatever you want to do.
Ours is the nicest one. I haven't been through the whole thing, though. There's parts of it that I'm very uncomfortable walking through.
The Ives Trail.
Yeah, there's some private property, and they make it perfectly clear you're not welcome. So.
Yeah. How many people have been on the Ives Trail? Good number. All of the trailsy people who I know. What did you say, Stuart?
Well, is the Saugatuck Trail, I like that one, but is that part of the trail system, or is that,
Yes, and a big effort in the new edition was to include all of the publicly accessible trails that are in town. And the Saugatuck Trail and the Aspetuck Trail were added since the last edition. The Saugatuck Trail is an extension of trails that did already exist. What were the, yeah,
I like the DeLillo, is it DeLillo Trail?
The DeLillo.
Or DeLillo.
yeah. That's only 2.5 years old. Do people remember the first trails that they visited when they came to Reading?
Little River?
The Ledge, the Little River,
Saugatuck Falls.
Saugatuck Falls.
The Lowtown Marsh with our children.
Yeah.
And schools.
Yeah.
Really, elementary schools too, trails.
Terry Wild Park in there has several nice trails to walk out.
Yeah.
You can get a workout and still be in civilization, so to speak. Easy to get lost in places, but
Is that where you take the Ives Trail from, or?
yeah, I deviate from that. There's so many other trails up there. It's, yeah, they go all over the place. It's interesting, Ives Trail on their website, they actually started in Ridgefield. Then it's Pine Road.
Yeah.
And, but if you look on a lot of the commercial trail apps, that part of it isn't included in the overall Ives Trail.
Yeah.
You know, it's about a 3-mile stretch in Ridgefield, and you come down Route 7 and you cross over and you head back up into toward Danbury.
It's beautiful there by the water.
It is, yeah, it is.
And actually, that's a great segue into something we'll be talking about in just a minute about kind of the use of the Book of Trails in this world of trail apps and trail websites. So, okay, I'll get started. I wanted to give you kind of an overview of the cast of characters. In the time since the last edition, the trails have been really under the care of Stuart Green, actually, who's right here. I think Stuart probably said that I've forgotten more than you'll ever know about the trails. That's Stuart. And Stuart also made a lot of the GPS tracks along with Bruce Gibbon, the Land Trust, and others. Sylvia and Gordon are the co-presidents of the Land Trust. They're here. Around 2018 or so, Kevin led the effort to put the Book of Trails on our website. There's another figure who's not from town, Tom Ebersold, has a blog in West Haven where he mostly focuses on trails over there, but he spent some time in 2006 and then 2019 hiking all of the trails in Reading and putting together a great list of corrections and notes about parking, which was very helpful in this process. And then, of course, there's John G. Mitchell and Joan Ensor, who wrote the first edition and really led the subsequent editions, with Jane Ross in the 4th edition as well. So that just gives you a sense of all of the people who are involved in keeping this land usable and sharing it with all of us. And what I'm building on, and me, that's me, I think on a trail at the Great Ledge before my perm. And I grew up here. spent my childhood outdoors, grew up along the Sam Hill Little River Preserve. I I'm an artist, a writer, and at the time that I saw Gordon and Stewart kind of bobbing through the swamp next to my house on the soon-to-be Robbins Trail, I was getting really into native plants, and I didn't study biology or botany or ecology in school, but serious hobbyist, and when I joined the Land Trust, I did a woodland management program at Connecticut Forest and Parks Association. My introduction to the forest came through my father, who was a civil engineer by trade and a painter, and this is along the Little River. This is, some of you might remember this little deli that used to exist in Georgetown near the fire department. Ain't there no more. So why are we doing an update? Why did they do updates in the past? It was usually around the time of significant new land being acquired. 3 years after the first edition was 1982, and 3 years later they had a new one out because they had Stormfield. And then in 1992 they had acquired a lot of properties to make these long trails. The Westway and the Saugaway were finished. So why does it take so long? Why are we doing it? We're changing maps, we're adjusting layouts. This is here just a little example of, oh yeah, the trail doesn't look like that anymore. It's an old map, but really it needs an update. In addition to there being new properties. There are gaps in the texts as well, which has to do with things that were newer and so that had received less attention so far. Things have changed on the trails. And there's context that I think was kind of assumed and shared that gets forgotten. I wanted to make sure that we had a full digital copy so that future updates could go quickly, smoothly. I got involved, so I get obsessed, so that's part of why it's taking a long time. And I really wanted to take seriously this idea of what would a book of trails offer in this age when you can download a GPS map, and really there's nothing more useful than being able to see where you are and what direction you're facing on your phone in your pocket. And you don't even really need to be connected to the internet for that to happen. So what I see the books offering that an app doesn't is the stories. There's no history of the town or the property on all trails. On all trails, there's actually not much of a trail, usually. There are only a handful of our trails on all trails. It's a very arcane system of getting things reviewed and posted to all trails. It also, to my mind, encourages a kind of like completionist attitude. It really rewards the I want to get to them all and I want to get as much up and down exercise as I can get and check them off, get my heart rate up, stuff like that. And there are other ways of appreciating the trails, which come through very strongly in these books where people are writing so lovingly about the landscapes, the different plants. Now, the new properties that prompted this new edition include McCormick and Fields and Poliac up here, these town and nature conservancy properties sprinkled around town. Oops, I missed one out here, Granscock. We have this cram preserve, we have Mahoney existed, but it didn't have trails blazed yet. So there are 108 trails in this new book, not including the Devil's Den Trail. And in 1982, there were 53. 28 have been added since 2005. 41 or so areas, depending on how many of the little untrailed properties we end up including. 32 maps versus 16 in 1982. But also, this was a great opportunity for me to visit trails that were new to me, but that have existed here for a long time. I had a great time at, this is Lime Kiln. This is just this beautiful swamp. This is the old Big Trees Trail, which the big tree is still there, but it's not living. New discoveries like this hazelnut, which I don't know on too many properties around town, but there's some here, there's some on the Saugatuck Trail. Had fun at Gallows Hill, a beautiful, magical place. People love it. I just had never been there. Do people know where this is?
Saugatuck?
Where?
Rockland.
He knows. Yeah, we're getting
Scott Preserve.
Scott Preserve, technically, yeah. So Scott Preserve and the Rock Lot are connected. The trails traverse both of them. And this is, I think this is the best view that you get of Long Island Sound in Reading. You're just looking at Long Island. You're looking at the Northport Power Station, and it's actually 4 smokestacks, but you're directly looking over Norwalk, and so you're just seeing them in a line. They're about 600 feet tall. Compared to, does anybody know where this is?
Topstone?
Yeah, Topstone. So this is a beautiful view from the end of the Chase Longview Trail. This is a beautiful view of the hickories in Ridgefield, the farm. And then, I guess you're looking at Long Island, but you're really peering through the trees, and it looks pretty far away. But I would say it counts technically. So by the summer of 2025, I was looking at maps and getting kind of inspiration for the style. We knew that when we did this update, we didn't want to lose the charm of the hand-drawn style, even though we wanted to make them more consistent. With so many new properties, the inconsistency we felt was going to become just more noticeable. And so I was looking at there's The Hobbit. We have some like 16th century maps. We have local maps from the 60s here. Looking at a lot of contemporary trail guides. More technical, getting a lot of information in there, simplified, very simplified. Just a wide range of what you can do, how much color you're using. Looking at layouts in historical books. These are very early layouts in the middle here, 1640, 1663. Then you have stuff, this is from the 30s. You can do a lot with just the text. You can do a lot with illustration. I love this guy, Dwiggins. He's designed many typefaces, including Electra, maybe the most famous of them. Just great use of color, typography, hand lettering, and drawing. Just absorbing influences, looking at these and thinking about the cover of our book of trails. Looking at maps from the 60s and 70s again, the Connecticut River. This is the Connecticut Walk book with hand-drawn maps. And I mean, I love looking at these. It gets really hard to tell things apart when you're just using black and white and you're trying to convey a lot of different types of information, like elevation or trails, roads, things like that. I had a great time in September in the old townhouse, looking through everything I could find for just design inspiration, and our town meeting minutes were illustrated in the 50s and 60s. So that was just very fun to see.
We've lost that.
Well, we lost that, but it showed me the importance that just a handful of people who happen to be there can make. There happen to be these artists living in town. I'm sure nobody was saying, we have to have this illustrated. There's somebody there who, wanted to do it and had this cute ability. I spent some time looking at all of the maps, breaking them down, the different styles, like what are all the different ways they're showing marshes, what are all the different ways they're showing, well, one way they're showing trails, different ways they're showing power lines, stone walls, and a few special interest things like the cascades, overlooks, the big trees, how do they show the property lines, blah, blah, blah. Different label styles. And I was sketching different scales, playing around, breaking the mold kind of to go back to it, playing around with typography. What if we made things more visually discrete at a glance? That's kind of what I was taking from the hiking guides I was looking at in the store. And then in the art side of things, the existing book of trails were first illustrated by Heidi Lindy on the left, and her illustrations are in all 4 editions. And then the second, third, and fourth had illustrations also from Reeve Biggers on the right, who also did maps, and Joe Pulsano in the middle, who was an illustrator, wildlife illustrator and children's book illustrator, who was from Reading and was one of the 5 founders of the Reading Land Trust. My friend Elizabeth Ekman is doing some illustrations for us. This is one of a frog here, and I was very surprised to watch A Passion for Place a couple years ago and see her there in Lone Town Marsh when we were, 9 years old, I guess. So that's her. My favorite part of the whole project has been recovering history. I went into this thinking, okay, we're updating some maps. We're going to draw new maps for new properties. Maybe we'll go in and tweak the old ones, and that's the scope of it. But what has really felt lively and kept me engaged is finding these great old documents. Walks in Reading, What to See on Walks in Reading in the Spring, it's sitting right over there on the table, was compiled by Betty Hill, who was the wife of Sam Hill, who was she started the Reading Garden Club, and Sam Hill started the Reading Conservation Commission, and they seem to have been just a great pair getting things done in town. And these were articles from the Reading Pilot about plants, animals that you could see at different properties in 72, 73, when some had trails, but most didn't. This all becomes relevant to the Book of Trails when I found at the back something that had been added 2 years later, which is this big map on the right here by John Hogenbohm. It's not a name I knew, hadn't seen it in any of the Book of Trails or anything like that, but he designed the trails. It says here, trails planned and mapped by John Hogenboom. I called his wife, Ruth, found out that he had died just a year and a half ago. Was really sorry to have missed him. She confirmed, yeah, he designed those. And there are a couple that are along old roads, but he laid out the rest, and he did this intensive labeling of plants. And it allowed us to go back and do things like find the hickory tree that's mentioned in all the editions of the Book of Trails. That's super big. I did find it. And it has fallen down, but it had grown a foot in circumference before it fell down. And, you know, he mentions the chestnuts sprouting from the blighted stumps, right where you can still find them today, sort of near the power lines. And he also mentioned these, this one particular kind of tree, which, here, I'll pass these around. You have some over there next to you if you want to take a look. Does anybody know what this is?
Did you get some? You did.
Does anybody know what it is? Sticks. Yeah, that's where you start. Yeah. So this is striped maple, and it's a common tree in general, but not too much of it, as far as I know, in Reading. There's some on the Saugatuck Trail, some on the slope of below Huntington, on Hopewell Woods Road, near that entrance. There's some on a land trust property that doesn't have trails yet, on Olmsted Road. But he had it listed, and I had never seen it, and so I went and I looked at the first patch. I couldn't find it. It's on this trail that we've always known as the Burn Trail, but on his map was called the Laurel Trail. And there was supposedly this forest fire, which again, I have not yet found documentation about that, but striped maple does not, according to the USDA, come back well from fire. So I thought, okay, maybe that's why that's missing. But then he said there's a striped maple of near record size. So I was able to use his map and go find this little patch above a swamp. You can go there in Saugatuck Falls, and it's this beautiful tree which has this, I mean, I think it looks like a sectioned instrument, like an oboe or something like that. And it's got unusual leaves, it's got beautiful buds. The bark has this very cool, it's also called snakeskin maple. Anyway, found one that is as large as the 2 champion striped maples in Connecticut. So, don't know if it's the same one, but we know that the colony has been there for a long time. There's another old report that I found, which you can also look at actually on the Connecticut shelf down here in the library, about the Steichen Preserve, Huckleberry Swamp, which this on the left was just interesting to me for simulating different ideas of drawing what you saw in the woods. So, okay, we're drawing the main type of tree as you go down the slope. And then on the right here, this map showed where there's in 1979 at least, there was this rare swamp birch. Maybe only 7 colonies of it in southern New England, and this was one of them. Haven't found it yet. It's very wet there, but if people want to take an adventure, they should do that, and send us what you find. Found this report on the Devil's Den prepared by Yale when Yale took it over in 1918 or so. And it was so detailed that you could just lay it right over the maps and see exactly where, okay, these trails that I've highlighted in green here, these have been in Devil's Den for over 100 years. They were already old at this point in time. So I love finding things like that. They just kind of deepen your appreciation of how long people have been engaging with the woods here. More recent maps.
7:31 p.m.
Thank you. The town plan map comes up. Time's up, keep moving. But I did find these interesting because you could see, first of all, from 1960, when they're just starting to get the idea that, okay, we want to set aside open space in our town like we're starting to do across the New York metropolitan region. The Regional Plan Association was promoting this for outdoor recreation, keep people healthy and active. At that time, there are just a couple areas set aside for recreation. You have Huntington, you have Putnam. You can check your maps now, see how you do. And then, aside from the state parks, you had this long stretch along the Little River. And then you had this stretch right here of the Saugatuck in front of Saugatuck Falls natural area. So not a whole lot, and focused on the water. By 1966, you have all of this is open space, and then you also see the recreation and reservation. They've separated out now the state park and forest. They've also marked swampland. But all of these areas, over the next few years, they marked out on policy plans as these would be desirable to permanently protect. And if you look at the current map, it overlaps this pretty heavily. So in 1966, they pretty much said, this is what we want to save, and then they got it. They didn't get it easily always. So Betty Hill, again, liked to cut things out and paste them in books. This one is a huge book that Bill Hill showed me. It's like this big, with all of these Reading pilot clippings from the fight over Topstone Park. And it was a real case in point, why are we doing this? Why are we saving land in town? The initial opposition basically said, you think that if we don't save it, all these IBM workers for the new facility are going to move in, and we're not going to be able to keep up with it, provide the services we need. That's not going to happen, and it's just muck anyway. There's not even a pond there. The town residents voted, they voted to buy it, but then when the state found out that the kind of what ameliorated conflicted voters was that the beach would be only open to residents, the state said, well, okay, so we're not involved anymore, we're not going to fund that. When the town found out that, or when residents found out that the state had pulled back, there was a second referendum, and they said, never mind. But then the opposition went way far in the other direction, and they said, we don't want, out-of-towners, we don't want people coming into our beautiful Reading. Just look at Putnam Park where the whole state can go. And that was very easy for people to combat in the Reading Pilot and the News Times, because who wanted to be associated with such a exclusionist sentiment? And it forced a whole other wave of discourse around the environment. There was an oil spill in New Haven Harbor, and people just, were writing these letters saying, protect the land, protect the water, and we want a place to swim. Wouldn't that be great for our kids? And the great idea was to have just a week or so before the third referendum, there was like an open house at Topstone Pond. It was frozen, people came and skated, 600 people came, they had a bonfire, and it seems to have been just a case of, once you were there, why would you not vote for this?
Tucker, wasn't Reading Open Land Investment involved?
Yes, Reading Open Land Investment was key to purchasing Topstone Park after the state funding had fallen through, because they, based on inspiration from Massachusetts, they had developed a method of buying the land themselves, setting some of it aside to develop, reducing the value of what was left that the town actually wanted, and so it was then cheaper for the town to purchase, if I'm getting it succinctly. This might be interesting to you too. Again, not always easy. Stormfield was purchased over 11 years because the owner at the time knew that the town wanted it. And she, at first she wanted, the town would plow her driveway while in these intervening 11 years. They would take care of any buildings they wanted saved, otherwise they would fall down. You could see the level of tension here where this is the town lawyer writing to her lawyer. You indicated at the meeting that you thought the town would not insist upon a strict performance of the contract. I must disabuse you of any such conclusion. After 8 years of your clients backing and filling over this matter, any retreat from the agreement will only result in further and other troubles in the future. So. Now we're moving on to my agenda here, which is why am I so grateful that we have this land? For me, it's a lot about the plants. This is sweet pepperbush, summer sweet, clethra. It's extremely common. It's in almost all of the preserves. It's probably in a lot of your backyards if they're at all swampy or mucky. But in late July, August, it's like the most intoxicating scent when you're out there. I mean, it's like gardenias or something like that. It's really incredible. And in the past few years, I've been like shocked. Why are we not celebrating this like mountain laurel or skunk cabbage even? And I think skunk cabbage, well, we all see that at the beginning of spring because nothing else is in the way. So, it's right there. Mountain laurel obviously is so beautiful. And this is kind of tucked away in the swamp. So part of my agenda is, really to encourage people to put on boots and go just hang out where it's mucky, because there's so much life and beauty there. So again, in Lime Kiln, this was from just this March. This is the flower of the hazelnut. I don't know if any of you have those, but this is tiny, tiny, tiny red flower. I went out and I thought, oh, I guess this one isn't flowering, and then, oh yeah. Saugatuck Falls, these are native azaleas. Beautiful, gorgeous. This is a whole hillside right along the river if you're on the Hardwood Trail. This is mid-May, so you can see goes into late May. It's just beautiful. And then this is back to my home base, which is the Sam Hill River Preserve. And again, with things like all trails, it's like this review culture too, where you're telling people, hey, is it worth it or is it not worth it to go there? The Little River Preserve, I'm sorry to say, does not have great reviews. It has a couple great reviews, but it has a couple like, oh, there are snakes and frogs. So, I don't know. For me, there's no bad time to visit a trail. There's no bad time of day, no bad time of year. They're just different things that you see. This is sticks, leaves, and mud, but it was a beautiful morning. And the area means a lot to me because, as I said, my introduction to the land was my father. And my dad had ocular melanoma, which progressed to his liver, and he died when I was a senior in high school. And I spent a lot of time out there alone after he died. And we did a little survey in August that we sent out to people, and I'm not the only one who said, oh yeah, I have a favorite spot on a trail. I went there, I hugged this tree when my parents were dying, and now I go back and I visit that tree, and it means a lot to me. There is just something magical about having these outdoor spaces that we put an invisible line around and say we're not going to touch that, and that's going to be room for these more than human systems. They're so full of living things. And I mean, I kind of like to hike, but really I just like to go outside and be surrounded by so many living things. And I think a big part of the appeal of that, it seems like to many people, is that they last when the people that we love don't last. People die, people just move away, our kids grow up and move away, and we're still here. And we have these places that we've put our memories and our relationships into. And through working on this book, I've also been privileged to experience some of those memories from people 60 years ago, 70 years ago. Everybody wants the book, the new book. It's not ready yet. It's hard to stop, but we are winding it down. Every time I go outside, there's a new thing. Oh, I can put that in the book. At the annual meeting, photographer asked us a question about something, and I realized I completely left out a set of properties, these 5 town and nature conservancy things, which they don't have trails, and they're not all encouraged to be walked upon, but you can use them, and they're beautiful. And I went out here, and this is the middle encampment from the 3 encampments of which Putnam Park is one. And this one is magical in its own way because it has never been manicured or curated into a park. So you really have this feeling of these stone piles there are firebacks from chimneys, just like at Putnam Park, but here they are surrounded by trees and, untouched, as it were.
Where is that?
And that is near Limekiln and Whortleberry. So it's not that easy to get to, and don't go out there and dig things up. That's the big question about how much to talk about these preserves. Based on our survey, a lot of people, their first visit, they said, was to Saugatuck Falls. The trails they went to most often varied a lot. We're really based on where you live. People go to the places that are near them, or Huntington. A lot of people like the Great Ledge, so that's nice for the Reading Land Trust as a land trust property. Winter, I thought these were interesting. Putnam Park and Huntington, I guess, makes sense. They have parking lots that you can get into. They have some flat trails, things that are shoveled even. But I really like this one, Little River North. People were talking about the section between Black Rock Turnpike and Cross Highway, and it really is a lovely kind of flat meander along the river in the snow. Hot day, everybody said Saugatuck Falls, doing what they're not supposed to be doing. And then the last thing, I just wanted to recap with you some adventures that you might want to go on. If you haven't seen those views from the Long Island Sound, up the Long Island Sound, you can go to Scott Preserve, see some of those plants that we talked about. A big question, something that I haven't found yet from John Hogenboom's 1975 map is, are there pink lady slippers in Saugatuck Falls along the power line? If somebody knows that, we might answer it right now, but if not, that's something you can go
What was
search
that?
out.
Are
Sorry.
there what?
Pink lady slippers, so that's
Gotcha. Okay.
yeah, nice little pink orchid.
Yeah.
And then I really recommend that in July or August, you find some swamp. And just go out there on a hot day, especially in the morning, and walk around until you smell the pepper bush.
It's in Stormfield too.
It's in Stormfield, it's in Saugatuck Falls, there's so much of it in Limekill, Topstone Park, really almost any trail you can find some of that. Okay, so now that's it for me. And if anybody has questions, happy to answer them.
Just a comment.
Yeah.
My friend Tom and I belong to an archery club that's a stone's throw away from here.
Yes.
And it's, people come up and down the drive. It's a private drive that winds up on a rather large, lovely estate.
Yes.
But there are a lot of folks come down that road to walk their dogs and just walk those trails. I see them all the time. It's part of we're part of the preserve that's, it's over, I want to say, close to 300 acres. It includes the school. So
Yeah, it's the Saugatuck Falls natural area.
Correct,
Oh,
yeah.
That's coming off Diamond Hill.
And we're on 32 acres.
Yeah.
We were given that privilege in 1960.
Yeah.
We maintain it, we keep it up to date with the town's departments so that they know what we're doing. We put a small, we had to replace a small building up there, we restore some miscellaneous equipment, and some of the carpets we use need to be brought in after they're in the winter stuff. But so we went through the permit process and sort of reestablished that relationship. But we have a need for any tree work that needs to get done. If we can't handle it ourselves, we make sure somebody with the town is aware of what we're doing.
Yeah, it's very nice back
Yeah,
there.
it's a beautiful place. It's not strangely enough, but it's an area that's well posted, but in all that time, and I've only been there a short time, I used to, when I was a kid, I used to go by this area when I worked in Danbury, went to school at the University of Bridgeport. And so I'm familiar with the area. But yeah, it's a beautiful place.
It's very lovely there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
Where on Limekill Road is that middle encampment?
It's the corner of Lime Kiln and Whortleberry. It's kind of nestled, there are some houses right on the corner, but then it's nestled behind
What,
them.
Lime Kiln and where?
Whortleberry?
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, go
I'd
ahead.
just like to say thank you. When we bought our house, the previous owners left behind an old copy of the Book of Trails, and I devoured that thing, and it brought to my mind nothing so much as Tolkien books. Pictures, the stories. I was like, this is Tolkien, sort of in real life, and it was such a great introduction to the town and the woods and the sort of the, it almost felt kind of magical walking through, like, I don't know what creature might come out from behind that tree. But, for you to take on this task, I can appreciate just from your little talk here that this could become an all-encompassing obsession. I love this book, and thank you for the time and work.
Too late now.
Thank you. I love to hear that because the board has been hearing me say, no, I'm serious, it's like Tolkien.
How does someone volunteer to be a tender?
Yes. For the moment, you can send an email to Stuart Green, who has just started as the town open space manager, town and land trust open space manager, and is the head of the trail tender.
I have a second question. Where do we get a rad t-shirt like that?
Oh.
How do we get a rad t-shirt?
A rad t-shirt like this, I'm sorry I didn't bring any to this event, but for the moment, you just have to come to our event, where we'll be selling them, tabling at the plant sale, things like that, but we're not quite ready to be doing shipping from our website, so,
I can come to the plant sale.
yeah.
May 9th garden wholesale.
Yes, May 9th is the garden club sale, which is great plan.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I just wanted to say, for people who may not know, we have a Reading Community Hiking Club, which is a collaboration of the Land Trust and the library. And this coming Saturday, Kevin, who's a trustee, is going to be leading a hike to a beaver lodge. And in May, we have 3 hikes, and one is Susan Durkee is going to take us through her beautiful gardens. We're also going to have a birding hike with Cole. And what is the third?
Peter Lundy.
What?
Peter Lundy is
Peter
gonna be
Lundy,
doing,
Great Ledge.
the Great
And
Ledge.
so typically these hikes are monthly, but recently we've had a couple per month, and you can register right on the Mark Twain Library website.
Yes. The
What?
one on Saturday at the Beaver Lodge is at Poliac Preserve, which is one of the new properties since the last edition. A great, just short, easy loop around the pond, and then one in the woods. It's a beautiful place to go if you haven't been.
And one other thing, I just wanted to mention the photography show that the Reading Land Trust is doing. It's a repeat from last year, and it's just to encourage people to get out and really enjoy the beauty of Reading. It will be, the submission portal is closing on the 20th of this month, and it's going to be up for the whole month of June on display at the library.
All right. We have a minute if people want to have any other questions or comments, but if not, thank you.
Thank you.